You look beautiful tonight.
You always know how to make me smile.
Exactly 14 years ago, February 11, 2012, Whitney Houston was found lifeless in a bathtub at the Beverly Hilton, hours before Clive Davis's star-studded pre-Grammy party raged downstairs. Official cause? Accidental drowning, cocaine, heart failure. Case closed.
The Los Angeles coroner's office finally revealing what killed the superstar singer who was found, as you know, underwater in her hotel bathtub.
Then, in 2025 to 2026, millions of Jeffrey Epstein files flood the public. No mention of Whitney, no link, no evidence. Yet the internet explodes again. Videos rack up millions of views. Titles scream elite ritual, blood sacrifice, the network that killed her. People point to the eerie timing. Whitney dies just 4 days after Blue Ivy Carter's birth. Ray J, her secret boyfriend, suddenly opens up years later. Clive's party right below her room. The water, the drugs. Coincidence? Or did the public always suspect the official story hid something darker? This is Black Legend Files. Tonight, we step back into that hotel room and ask the question no one dares answer. What if they never told us the whole truth? Subscribe to the channel and support us as we open the buried black box of Hollywood's darkest secrets. Let's go back 14 years ago. On February 11, 2012, the world lost Whitney Houston in a way that still feels impossible to accept. She was found lifeless in a bathtub on the 4th floor of the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Los Angeles. She was 48 years old. The woman whose voice had carried "I Will Always Love You" to every corner of the planet, the singer who made millions believe in love and heartbreak, was gone. Paramedics arrived, tried CPR, but there was no bringing her back. By 3:55 p.m., she was pronounced dead. The official explanation came fast. Accidental drowning. Cocaine was present in her system. Her heart had been weakened by years of drug use and underlying cardiovascular disease. The Los Angeles County Coroner's report, released a few weeks later, confirmed it. No signs of foul play, no trauma, no evidence of struggle. The death was ruled accidental. The file was closed. For most people, that was the end of the story. A tragic loss. A reminder of how fragile even the brightest stars can be. But rewind just 4 days. On February 7, 2012, in New York City, Beyoncé and Jay-Z welcomed their first child into the world. Blue Ivy Carter arrived healthy and surrounded by love. The news spread instantly. Magazines, blogs, television, everyone celebrated. A new generation of music royalty had begun. Photos of the proud parents leaked, fans sent congratulations, and the internet lit up with joy. No one could have predicted that this innocent moment would later become the center of wild speculation. Yet 4 days later, Whitney was dead, and the timing, only 4 days apart, would become one of the most repeated details in conspiracy discussions. That same night, February 11th, the Beverly Hilton was already alive with anticipation. Clive Davis, the legendary music executive who had discovered and shaped Whitney's career decades earlier, was hosting his annual pre-Grammy party in the hotel's ballroom. It was one of the most exclusive events of the year. Stars, producers, songwriters, and industry power players were expected to fill the room. Champagne would flow, performances would happen, deals would be whispered in corners. It was supposed to be a night of celebration. When word spread that Whitney had been found upstairs, the mood shifted. Clive decided not to cancel. He explained that Whitney herself would have wanted the music to continue. Before the party began, he took the stage and spoke about her. A moment of silence was held. Clips of her performances played on screens. Some guests stayed and tried to honor her memory. Others left quietly, unable to shake the surreal feeling of grief happening just floors above where laughter and music were supposed to ring out. The contrast was haunting, a party below, a tragedy above, all in the same building. Years passed. The world moved forward. Whitney's music never stopped playing. Her daughters and family carried her legacy. Then, in August 2019, another death shook the public in a very different way. Jeffrey Epstein, the wealthy financier accused of operating a large-scale sex trafficking network involving powerful men across politics, business, and entertainment, was found dead in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York. The official ruling was suicide by hanging. The circumstances, guards asleep, cameras malfunctioning, a high-profile inmate left alone, immediately sparked disbelief. Theories exploded. Was he murdered to keep secrets buried? Who benefited from his silence? The questions refused to die. Epstein became a symbol. His name attached itself to every rumor about elite corruption, hidden blackmail, and untouchable power. Flight logs from his private jet, nicknamed the Lolita Express, were pored over. Names of passengers were dissected, photos surfaced, depositions leaked. The story grew bigger with every year. Then came the turning point, 2025 and 2026. After years of legal battles, court orders, and public pressure, the U.S. Department of Justice and the House Oversight Committee began releasing Epstein-related documents in massive waves. Millions of pages were made public. Flight logs, redacted witness statements, photographs, emails, financial records, interview transcripts, everything that had been sealed for so long flooded the internet. Journalists, researchers, and everyday people downloaded files by the terabyte. They searched for familiar names, presidents, princes, billionaires, Hollywood figures. Some connections were confirmed. Many pages were heavily blacked out to protect victims. The releases continued into early 2026, each batch creating new headlines. People searched those files obsessively for any trace of Whitney Houston. They looked for Ray J. They looked for Clive Davis. They looked for any mention of the Beverly Hilton in 2012. Nothing appeared. No flight record placed Whitney on Epstein's plane. No testimony linked her name to his circle. No photograph, no email, no note. Her name was absent from the documents entirely. Despite that absence, the internet did not let go. Videos began appearing with titles like "Epstein Files Finally Reveal What Really Happened to Whitney," or "The Ritual Timing," "Blue Ivy Born," "Whitney Gone." Comment sections filled with theories. Some pointed to the 4-day gap between Blue Ivy's birth and Whitney's death. Others focused on Ray J, who had recently spoken more openly in interviews about his secret relationship with Whitney in early 2012. He said they had been planning to go public around the time of the Grammys. Then she was gone. He wasn't in the hotel when she was found. He grieved publicly. Yet years later, people still asked why he waited so long to share certain details. Others circled back to Clive Davis. Why hold the party? Why not cancel? What conversations happened that night? The water in the bathtub became symbolic to some, echoing stories about Epstein's victims and water-related rituals that circulated in fringe circles. Cocaine in her system was reframed not as a tragic relapse, but as something possibly administered. None of it was supported by evidence, but the questions persisted. The timeline refuses to fade. A baby is born to music royalty. 4 days later, a legend dies in a hotel room. Hours after that, a party continues below her body. 7 years pass, and a predator dies under suspicious circumstances. Another 7 years after that, millions of pages of secrets are finally opened, and still no direct link appears. Yet the story keeps returning, not because of documents, not because of proof. It returns because of emotion. Because when someone as luminous as Whitney Houston dies so suddenly, so young, so close to a moment of possible comeback, the heart refuses to accept randomness. The mind searches for meaning. It builds bridges between distant events. It sees patterns where others see coincidence. And so this sequence of dates, February 7th, February 11th, August 10th, 2019, and the long release period of 2025 to 2026 has become a kind of modern mythology. It is repeated on screens late at night. It is debated in comment threads. It is whispered in group chats. It lives because doubt lives, because grief lives, because the human need to understand the unthinkable never really goes away. What if the official story never told you the real reason Whitney Houston died? These are the details people keep pulling up on YouTube, TikTok, Reddit, and late-night X threads. They aren't ironclad proof. They're the little pieces that feel too strange, too perfectly timed, or too eerie to brush off completely. Here's how they usually get presented, from the ones that grab attention the fastest to the ones that make people stay up scrolling for hours. The most talked about clue, the one that grabs people the first time they hear it, is this simple, brutal 4-day gap. Whitney Houston was found dead on February 11th, 2012, exactly 4 days after Blue Ivy Carter was born on February 7th, 2012. Just 4 days. Conspiracy channels don't just mention the dates. They freeze the screen on a calendar, zoom in tight, let the silence sit for a second, then say it slow. One child comes into the world, and one of the greatest voices music has ever known disappears forever. Their claim is direct and chilling. Blue Ivy's birth demanded a sacrifice. They argue that Beyoncé and Jay-Z, the couple so many already see as the king and queen of the industry, needed this death to lock in their rise to almost untouchable power. Some videos push it further, calling Blue Ivy the chosen child, born under a deliberate cosmic or ritual alignment that required Whitney's life as the price. Then they hit you with the number that makes your stomach turn. 2012 was Whitney's 33rd year in the spotlight. She signed her breakthrough deal with Arista Records in 1979, so by 2012, she had been famous for exactly 33 years. 33. That number lands like a hammer in these circles. It's the highest degree in Scottish Rite Freemasonry. It's the age Jesus was at the crucifixion. It's the so-called master number tied to enlightenment, secret control, and hidden power structures. Creators flash Masonic symbols on screen, overlay the number 33 across old album covers, point to Jay-Z's Rockefeller diamond hand sign, or slow down Beyoncé's stage moves where she forms a 3 with her fingers. One narrator puts it plainly. They marked the year with the number 33. They counted down her 33rd year, and then they took her. The videos keep building the shock. They run through other sacrifices that supposedly follow the same pattern. Michael Jackson at age 50, 5 plus 0 equals 5, linked to the pentagram. Prince at 57, 5 plus 7 equals 12, 1 plus 2 equals 3. Amy Winehouse at 27, the legendary 27 Club. Whitney, ending her run at the close of year 33, fits the mold perfectly, they say. Some clips cut straight to Beyoncé performing the night after Whitney died, her expression calm and commanding, while Whitney's body was still being taken out of the hotel. The edit is harsh on purpose. It's meant to make you feel uneasy, even sick. They dig even deeper into symbolism. Blue Ivy was born in a leap year on the 7th, a sacred number. Whitney died on the 11th, a master number of intuition and hidden truth. The 4 days between them, some claim, represent the 4 elements: earth, air, fire, water. Whitney's death in water supposedly completed the cycle. A few threads stretch it all the way back to ancient Babylonian rituals, where a life was offered to bless a new heir or secure a dynasty. And once you start seeing these patterns, the dates, the number 33, the water, the power shift, it's hard not to wonder, if something like that could happen at the very top of music, who exactly was pulling the strings behind the curtain? That's where Jeffrey Epstein enters the picture for so many people digging into this. He wasn't just some rich guy with a private island. According to the files, the lawsuits, and the testimonies that keep leaking out, Epstein built what looked like a perfect blackmail machine aimed at the world's most powerful men and women. Young girls, hidden cameras, private flights, parties that crossed every line. The goal, many say, wasn't just personal gratification. It was leverage, control, the ability to whisper in the right ear and make careers rise or fall with a single phone call. Now apply that to show business. Hollywood and the music industry already run on access, favors, and who you know. Epstein's circle overlapped with that world more than most admit. He partied with producers, executives, and A-list names. He had connections to people who could greenlight albums, book tours, or bury scandals. The theory goes that once someone was compromised, whether through a compromising video, a secret favor, or just being seen at the wrong party, they became part of the machine. They owed him, or they owed the people he answered to. Careers got protected, songs got pushed, stories got silenced. Look at Whitney's orbit in 2012. She was still tied to Clive Davis, one of the most powerful men in music history. Clive had launched her, mentored her, and controlled huge chunks of her legacy even after her struggles. Bobby Brown's wild years had put her in rooms full of industry insiders. And the pre-Grammy party that night? It was the kind of elite gathering where deals are made, alliances are sealed, and secrets are traded behind smiles. If Epstein-style networks existed in entertainment, this would have been exactly the environment where they operated. Quiet influence, invisible pressure, and the constant fear that one wrong move could end everything. So when people connect the dots, they ask, was Whitney's death just a tragic overdose? Or could she have become inconvenient? Did she know something about the parties, the favors, the hidden tapes? That made her a liability in a world that runs on control? No document says yes. No file names her. But the Epstein releases showed us how deep those networks could go. They showed us how leverage works at the top. And once you see that, the 4-day gap with Blue Ivy stops feeling like coincidence. It starts feeling like part of a bigger game, one where lives are currency, timing is everything, and the music never really stops, even when someone falls silent forever. Of course, this is all just wild speculation from the internet crowd, pure fan theories and late-night rabbit holes with zero hard proof. But personally, I can't quite shake how eerie that 4-day coincidence feels. It's the kind of timing that makes you pause and wonder if there's something more beneath the surface. Next comes Ray J and his secret relationship with Whitney. In 2025 interviews, Ray J finally spoke more openly about it. He said he and Whitney were quietly dating in the early months of 2012. They had plans to go public, possibly even during Grammy weekend. Then she was gone. He has said he wasn't at the hotel when her body was discovered and that he mourned her deeply. But the theory refuses to die. People connect Ray J to Diddy, his longtime close friend and collaborator. Diddy now faces serious accusations of running sex parties and trafficking, accusations that sound very similar to what Epstein was charged with. Videos from 2026 started saying Ray J knows something important, and that's why he stayed mostly quiet for so many years, or why he seemed to step back from the spotlight after the Epstein files were released. The line that hits hardest is this: if he ever talks too much, he could be the next one in danger. There's no real evidence for that. It's just the uncomfortable feeling that someone who was so close might be carrying secrets he can never share. Then there is Clive Davis and the party that never stopped. Clive Davis is the man who discovered Whitney, shaped her career, and treated her like family for decades. On the very night she died, he still went ahead with his famous pre-Grammy party in the ballroom of the same hotel, just floors below her suite. Guests arrived, music played, champagne was poured, even after word began to spread that Whitney was gone. Some people left in tears. Others stayed and tried to honor her. But the question keeps coming back. Why didn't he cancel the entire event? Who was really in that room? Did anyone hear or see anything unusual from upstairs? The picture of a big celebration happening while a legend lay lifeless one level above creates a feeling that is hard to shake. It isn't hard evidence. It's pure emotion. And emotion is what keeps this detail alive year after year. Another clue people won't let go of is the way Whitney was found. She was discovered face down in the bathtub. Water, stillness, cocaine in her system. Official reports explain it as chronic drug use combined with heart problems leading to an accidental drowning. Yet many stories about Epstein's victims describe them being drugged, controlled, and placed in water for symbolic or ritual reasons. Some of the earliest news reports mentioned that the cocaine level in her body seemed unusually high, although later toxicology reports said it was consistent with her long-term use. The question that never stops is simple. Was the cocaine forced on her? Was someone there making sure she couldn't get out of the tub? Or was it simply a tragic relapse that no one could prevent? The water connection keeps coming up as the most haunting parallel. When the Epstein files were finally released in 2025 and 2026, millions of pages became public. Flight logs, witness statements, redacted photos, emails, financial records, everything flooded online. People searched those documents over and over for Whitney's name. They looked for Ray J. They looked for Clive Davis. They looked for any connection to the Beverly Hilton in February 2012. Nothing was there. No flight record, no testimony, no photograph, no mention at all. Even so, videos with titles like Epstein Files Expose Whitney Houston Sacrifice, Ray J Missing, one of the most popular ones posted on February 9, 2026, still got millions of views. These videos don't point to any direct mention of Whitney in the files. Instead, they argue that the documents prove ritual sex trafficking happened at the highest levels of power, so Whitney must fit the same pattern somehow. That leaves people asking, why do creators keep linking her to Epstein when the files themselves say nothing about her? Is it just for clicks and views? Is it clever editing? Or do they truly believe something much bigger is still hidden behind all the blacked out lines? Finally, there is the bigger picture people draw. Whitney moved in the highest circles of entertainment. She was married to Bobby Brown during his wildest years. She attended Clive Davis's exclusive parties. She was part of Hollywood events where glamour met real power. Jeffrey Epstein had connections to presidents, royalty, and tech billionaires. So the theory asks a direct question. What if Hollywood ran its own version of the same kind of network? Sex, drugs, control, and enforced silence. Some say Whitney could have seen or known too much during her time in those rooms. There is no paper trail to back it up. There is only the quiet suspicion that the dark side of entertainment looks a lot like the dark side of politics. None of these clues add up to solid proof. They don't need to. They survive because they touch doubt, grief, and the small fear that the stories we're given are never the whole truth. One detail by itself might mean nothing. Put them all together, and suddenly people start to wonder. And wondering is all it takes to keep the videos playing, the comments growing, and the questions alive long after the official case was closed. Even after 14 years, even after millions of pages from the Epstein files flooded the internet, even after every interview, every 911 call, and every coroner report has been dissected line by line, these questions remain completely unanswered by any official document. They are the ones that make the story feel unfinished, the ones that conspiracy channels keep circling back to late at night. the ones that ordinary people whisper about when the official explanation just doesn't sit right in their gut. First and biggest, why did Whitney Houston die on February 11th, 2012, just hours before she was supposed to attend Clive Davis's pre-Grammy party, and only 4 days after Blue Ivy Carter was born? The timing still feels almost scripted. Blue Ivy came into the world on February 7th in a blaze of joy and celebrity. 4 days later, one of the greatest voices in music history was gone. Whitney had been excited about Grammy weekend. She had been rehearsing. She was staying in the same hotel as the party she was invited to. Yet she never made it downstairs. Her personal assistant left the suite around 3 p.m. to run a quick errand at Neiman Marcus. When she came back at 3:36 p.m., the door was locked. She let herself in, walked into the bathroom, and found Whitney face down in the tub. The water was still running and extremely hot. The assistant called for the bodyguard. Together they pulled her out. Then they called the front desk. The 911 call from hotel security is public now, a calm voice saying they have a 48-year-old female unresponsive in the bathtub. Paramedics arrived quickly, but it was too late. No official timeline has ever explained why the assistant left the room at that exact moment. No one has explained why Whitney was alone in that scalding tub for what must have been at least 20 or 30 minutes. And no document has ever tied that 4-day gap to Blue Ivy in any meaningful way. The question just hangs there, year after year. So, have you asked, what does Ray J really know? And why did he only start speaking up strongly in 2025? In July 2025, on the Funky Friday podcast and several other interviews, Ray J finally opened up in raw detail. He confirmed that he and Whitney were in a real secret relationship in early 2012. They were planning to go public at Clive Davis's party the very next night. He was in San Diego performing that day. He found out about her death while on stage or right after. He has always denied being in the hotel room. He calls the rumor that he was there when she died the biggest cap I've ever heard. But why wait 13 years to give that level of detail? In earlier years, he was mostly silent or brief. In 2025, he sounded emotional, pained, almost relieved to finally say it out loud. People wonder, did something in the Epstein file releases or in the Diddy case make him feel it was finally safer to speak? Or did he always know more than he could say? He insists he knows nothing about foul play. Yet the question lingers because he was one of the last people close to her who wasn't in that building. Then there is Clive Davis's party itself. Did anyone at that party see or speak to Whitney after 3 p.m.? Whitney was registered under her grandmother's name in Suite 434. The party was in the Grand Ballroom, 4 floors down. Clive went ahead with the event. He took the stage, voice cracking, and said, Whitney would have wanted this to go on. A moment of silence. Tributes. Stars sang. But did anyone from Whitney's team come downstairs after 3 p.m.? Did anyone from the party go upstairs? Hotel guests described the 4th floor being cordoned off, emergency workers rushing, chaos. One guest overheard members of her entourage coordinating how to handle the news. But no public witness has ever said they saw Whitney alive after early afternoon. The gap between her last known activity and the moment she was found is still a blank space in every official timeline. Are there any hotel staff or guests from the Beverly Hilton who have never given a public interview? The 911 call came from hotel security. A maid or housekeeper may have been in the area. Paramedics and police were there. Yet very few staff members have ever spoken on record. One anonymous guest told the LA Times the floor was sealed off and people were whispering. Another report mentioned hearing Whitney singing in the bathroom earlier that day. Happy, practicing, then silence. Why have so few of the people who were actually in that hotel that afternoon ever told their full story? Are they under NDA? Afraid? Or is there simply nothing more to say? And finally, the biggest question that conspiracy channels love. What exactly is the ritual that some people claim the Epstein files confirm? And could it possibly apply to Whitney? When the files dropped in 2025 to 2026, creators pointed to descriptions of victims being drugged, placed in water, symbolic acts. They say the files prove a pattern of ritualistic control at the highest levels. Whitney was found in water. Cocaine was present. The tub was scalding hot. Some early reports said the cocaine level seemed high. The water connection gets repeated over and over, but the files themselves never mention Whitney. Not once. So the question becomes, is this pattern real, or are people forcing Whitney into a story that doesn't belong to her? And if the pattern is real, why does her death fit so many of the pieces even though her name is absent? These questions have no answers in any document released so far. No coroner report, no police file, no Epstein deposition has closed them. They remain open, raw, and deeply human. They survive because when a voice as powerful as Whitney Houston is silenced so suddenly, in such a strange setting, the heart refuses to accept that it was simply bad luck. The mind keeps searching for meaning. And as long as those searches continue, these questions will keep coming back, year after year, no matter how many files get unsealed. And as the lights in that Beverly Hilton suite fade from memory, one truth remains heavy in the air. Whitney Houston is still gone. 14 years later, the questions don't get quieter, they get louder. The files keep dropping, the interviews keep coming, and yet the same shadows linger. Was it really just an accident? Or did the world lose her for reasons no one has ever dared to fully admit? Think about it for a second. A voice that could heal millions, silenced in a hotel bathtub while a party raged below. A baby born to power 4 days earlier. A mentor who refused to cancel the night. A friend who waited 13 years to speak. And millions of pages of secrets that still don't mention her name. Does that sit right with you? Does it feel finished? Or does it hurt deep down because part of you suspects the official story was never meant to be the whole story? If these questions are keeping you up at night too, if you're tired of surface-level explanations and want to keep digging into the stories they don't want us to ask about, then hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on notifications. Join the Black Legend Files family. Because the next file drop, the next interview, the next revelation might finally give us the piece we've been missing. And when it does, we'll be here, together, asking the questions that hurt the most. Whitney deserved better than silence. So do we. Subscribe now. Don't look away. See you in the next one.